Welcome to Big Blend Radio's Pet Connection podcast, where every third Wednesday we celebrate our furry, feathery, and scaly friends. Welcome, everyone. Today we have a fantastic show focusing on the really end of summer pet care, especially with dogs, because it is National Dog Month. Hey, that is a good thing. It is, obviously, it is the dog days of summer. I know our friend Angela Laws, who's our co-host from Trusted House Sitters, will tell you London is hot, hot, hot. I know our friend Glenn Burrows in England was telling us this is why they can make wine in England now, because the temperatures have skyrocketed there. And across the country, the United States, of course, the temperatures are super high. And we are also in summer storm season. So that's what we're going to focus on, particularly with dogs. So, of course, we've got Angela Laws here from Trusted House Sitters. We'll talk about Trusted House Sitters in a bit, as always. But we also have Kris Kiser joining us again on the show. He is the president and CEO of the TurfMutt Foundation. We love this foundation. They really spread a lot of awareness for your pets. They do a lot of work in getting dogs rescued, and they tell you a lot about how to maintain your green space at home and make it a living space for both you and your pets, but also green spaces out in cities. But first off, ladies first, Angela, how are you doing over in hot, hot, hot London?
Lisa, I mean, I left Scotland and I was one of those, oh my gosh, the weather up here. I want some sunshine. Have we had our summer? Because we had 2 days of summer and I thought that was it. And I've come down to London, and of course, I love coming here. I'm on a house sit, one I've done for 15 years, looking after the same kitty cat. Every summer we come here because I've got this amazing array of shops that I can walk to. I don't have to get in a car like I do in Scotland. Anyway, I've come down here and it's been between 28 and 32 degrees Celsius. And for anybody who doesn't know what that is, 32 degrees Celsius is around 89, 90 degrees.
Big for England, yeah.
Yeah, and as we know, if you're in the city and it's all closed in, and I'm in a place called Barnes, which is absolutely
beautiful.
Lovely. It's lovely. But we are in the direct flight path of London Heathrow. And as everybody knows, that's probably one of the world's busiest airports. So when we're talking, there's this growl behind me, I haven't got a big kitty cat. It's an aircraft going over. But no, I'm good.
It's trash day here, so you may hear dogs barking. But so it's all, it is a pet podcast. It's allowed, and it's actually, everyone knows on Big Blend Radio, you could hear a donkey, Tortoises, I've never heard them make that much noise, but they do this kind of sound, which is interesting. But let's get Kris Kiser back on the show. How are you, Kris?
Good to be with you again. Oh, good. I share the pain. I'm in Louisville, Kentucky right now, where it's hot, hot, hot and humid. So it's a timely topic today to talk about the heat and our pets.
Well, I want everyone to know your website too. You can go to turfmutt.com and to learn about the world of pet sitting and how pet sitters who like to travel can go and take care of pets while they're traveling in homes of other travelers. Check out TrustedHousesitters.com. It's something Nancy and I do across the country. I know we will touch on travel as part of this podcast today. I know that Kris will be able to talk about if you're taking your dog for a ride, what you can do and what you need to do. And Angela can talk about, well, if you're really traveling and you need someone to take care of your pets, that's where she comes in. But Kris, is this, when we look at these summer temperatures, and Angela's talking about being in a city, and I know Barnes is beautiful, I know that she's near a wonderful botanical garden too, and botanical gardens with an S there, but isn't, city spaces, when this heat index rises, isn't this where we really need, and this is something we talked about the last time you were on the show, more green space to kind of help with the heat, especially, little dog paws?
It's imperative. It's called the heat island effect, and it's particularly acute in urban areas. The roadways and the roof lines and the sidewalks all absorb and re-radiate heat, so it keeps it unusually hot. So again, if you're living in an urban environment, you're walking your dogs, remember, if you put your hand on the asphalt or put your hand on the concrete, and if it burns your hand, it's going to burn their paws. So bear in mind the time of day you walk them, where you walk them, the surfaces on which you walk them. And if they're outdoors, got to make sure there's some shade available to them. And I have a sun lover. She loves to lay in the sun, but she overheats quick. So she'll go out in the morning, but lay in the sun. But make sure they have shade, and especially water. They've got to stay hydrated.
Water's a big deal. And, Angela, this is something important too. As we travel the country, we're always in a different, state, different city, community. And every place is different in temperature. And as pet sitters, I actually think this is something we need to be very aware of, that it's not, this is not home. It is home temporarily when we're somewhere, but we need to adapt quickly and actually learn about the weather patterns where we go, right? As pet sitters.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And the other thing too, and that's great advice, Kris. The other thing too is don't forget, pets you're caring for are all wearing fur coats, whether they're short, long, or what it is, they're all wearing fur coats. So just imagine. And I think as sitters, the one thing that we can be really, really mindful of is, these days you can pick up a phone, look at look at the weather forecast and know almost what you're going to get. It's not 100%. We know that there's changes, but almost what you're going to get. And with that, if you're not familiar with really high temperatures and how the best way to keep pets in it, familiarize yourself. My goodness, you can go onto the internet and you can find out anything. You can find out how, what heat stroke might look like, and as Kris says, don't walk your pets in the heat of the day when there's, all that asphalt is absorbed that heat, many, many other things. And we'll talk about that during the podcast. But the one thing that needs driving home all the time, and I don't know why, because this makes common sense. Heated cars, hot cars, do not leave anything that breathes at all in a hot car. But yeah, as sitters, we can be those custodians of those animals and keep them safe for their pet parents while they travel, so that everybody has an enjoyable summer vacation.
That's right. I always look at, it's the same thing with plants. You have to, do the water test. Like, you may have your plants on a watering schedule, but if the weather is on a different schedule than your schedule, you need to abide by nature. Really. And that's the thing. When to water, when not to. And it's the same thing about if you typically walk your dog at noon, that may not happen during the summer. And you may want to rethink that. I've seen people walk their dogs on, I was going to say tarmac now because you're on the show, and asphalt. Let me go back to that. In 95-degree weather in Texas, I'm going, what are you doing to the dog's paws? And so it's really something to think about. And you may not realize it, but even your dogs, when they get home, they're licking their paws, they're doing something, and you think it's allergies. It could be that you burned them. So it's really, really important. I want to get to storms, and I think getting your dogs prepared for them. And if you are in a zone with hurricanes, tornadoes, things like that, and wildfires, which Nancy and I have been through all of them. And, I just want to start off with, I think if you can have your dogs and cats, I know this is primarily a dog show, but have them trained to be able to love their crate as their own bedroom, basically. Like, when we were teenagers and we, got mad at our parents for grounding us, we slammed our door, went into our bedroom and turned on the music. It's our room. It's our safe space. And I feel like that's what we do want to do for our pets, because if something disastrous happens, if they're in that crate, they will feel safer. You can transport them. And if for some reason they have to be rescued and be put in a crate, that's a little bit of a familiarity to them. When there's a storm and, if they end up bolting, I mean, that can happen, and it really does. And this is where rescue comes in, and animal rescue groups do amazing jobs. And so I will talk to both of you about that, because I know Trusted House Sitters is knee deep in getting animals rescued and into the right homes. And so is the TurfMutt Foundation. But I want to start with you, Kris. Any tips on really understanding storms? You're in Kentucky and you go through flooding and a lot of different storms, right? So you understand that firsthand, right?
Firsthand. So we're in an area of the country where we get it all. So we'll get tornadoes, ice, snow, hail, you name it. And right now, because of the heat and humidity, much like Florida at this time of year, it cooks up what we call boomers. So late afternoon, oftentimes you'll get a surprise heavy lightning thunderstorm just as a result of the heat and humidity. This is one of some of the saddest stories I hear or see is when a dog in particular becomes afraid, lightning, fireworks, etc., and runs and takes off and then is not reunited with its family. Sad, sad story. We do so much work with the Humane Society in this space. Louisville is a center for that. A lot of dogs that are displaced through hurricane, tornado, etc., come to the Kentucky Humane Society in Louisville for safety and then redistribution. But that's why it's imperative to microchip your dogs, right? Get them tagged so you can find them, so someone else can find them, identify their ownership, make sure that they're wearing those tags. But it's critically important. I couldn't agree more relative to the storm setup. You talked about the cage. The same thing with having, and I come from Florida. We have family down there. You have your to-go bag, right? Your hurricane kit. Your dog needs one too. So bear that in mind as you travel with them. They need the same kind of kit and goods and materials that you do when you travel.
Yeah, if you're evacuating especially. And yeah, so I think that crate is like a safe space. They know, oh, this is mine, put their favorite toys in. But you talk medications, water, food, waste bags. I know you've got a great press release on there that everyone, you'll see that up as well on blendradioandtv.com. So all the links are in the episode notes. Just go there. Check it out. You'll have that for the TurfMuttFoundation.com, TrustedHousesitters.com, and also this wonderful, release really giving you some of these points so that you can really take action to protect your dogs. Angela, any tips on during a storm with dogs? Because that's something Nancy and I've really experienced. There's the thunder jackets, which actually do work on many dogs. We've noticed sometimes there's medication like CBD oil to calm them. There's all kinds of calming anxiety medications. And it just takes time, I think, to find the right one for your dog. And sometimes if you see a storm is coming, you need to do it in advance. And your dog needs to sometimes be used to a medication, not just, well, here you go, you're drugged. You don't want to necessarily do that, right? So they're all different, right, for that.
Yeah, they are all different. And one of the things too is they can tell that storm is coming before you can. And I think the other thing too is don't make a big deal out of it. Your animals are going to be scared. And if they are, it's like separation anxiety. If you can keep as calm as possible and because they pick up on you, and those thunder shirts do work. If you don't have any of those, you can actually wrap them up in something. And the other thing too is have a safe space they can go to. Yes, they're crates. I absolutely agree with you. Get them used to those crates so that if there is a time that they have to go into them, they're not going to go, woo, not going in there because you're going to take me to the vets or that person who does whatever he does to me. So make sure that's there, but also somewhere that's dark and quiet, and also, somewhere they feel safe, but music and actually get them used. Somebody actually told us you can get them used to sudden noises and fireworks by breaking pasta and getting those noises to them. And when you're talking about CBD oil, there's also something called Rescue Remedy, which is totally natural, which can be put in their water or, way before the storm comes. But yeah, I think it's one of those things once you know your animals, that's where sitters need to have that information from pet parents. If there's likelihood of a storm or anything coming through when you're away, and who knows, we don't know what the weather's going to do, make sure you tell your sitter how your pet reacts and what you do for them to make them feel safe and make them feel comfortable. And Kris brought up that, please microchip. But do remember too that you have to update that information, that database you have to make sure that database is up to date and you can get your pet back.
I also want to bring this up because here in the States, we are coming up to Labor Day weekend, which is my birthday weekend. So let's all party. Just saying. But with that, sometimes in some neighborhoods, it tends to be the last firework blowout of summer. And so then, we go towards the holiday season where New Year's comes and people get the fireworks out again. And this last 4th of July was exceptionally long because of the weekend. And it just became this long drawn out fire. I think we went through a full week with this poor little dog plus storms on 4th of July. And actually the fireworks we have found are worse than the storms because animals understand the storms. They know they're coming. They're still scared. But fireworks, that doesn't make sense. There's no natural pattern for them to understand intrinsically. It's not nature-based, right? So it doesn't make sense to them. There's no control. They just don't know what's going on. So to them, it's like if we were suddenly being bombed, so it's a very scary thing. So I think we need to remember that Labor Day weekend, the same thing goes with storms, but understand that. And maybe if your dog's even scared at all, stay home with them, be there with them, and maybe don't do the fireworks. I'm just saying, just my personal opinion is you may not want to do that with your animals. That's where we see a lot of animals bolt. If you're having a party and someone leaves a door open, there's a very good chance that maybe you don't do the fireworks, but somebody down the street does, and your dog bolts. And that's where the microchip comes in place. That paranoia, that anxiety can last in an animal for the rest of its life. Kris, any tips on that? Would you say it's the same thing as storms as well?
Absolutely. But importantly, as you said with the fireworks, we had a particularly challenging July 4th this year, is put your dogs inside. They're family. We always want them with us, but we're outside, we're barbecuing, et cetera, in the yard, but the neighbor's doing the fireworks. A lot of dogs can clear a lot of fences. So if they get that scared, they take off. They stop hearing your commands. And so don't put them inside. I know we want them with us, but if they're going to be fireworks, you think, or that kind of fear or distraction, put them inside. I really want to echo something Angela said, is I lean into, with my dogs, I know where they're going to go. My Chase would go to a particular closet. Pop would go to a particular tub in the house. And that's where they hid. That's where they laid when the storms came or the fireworks came. And so when I knew they came, I would put their bed or blankets, et cetera, and a toy or two in that space, in that closet, in that tub. And it helped, then they felt a little calmer. My girl today, Mulligan, she just wants to be near me. And so she'll let her get on the sofa, let her get on the chair. She wants to curl up and be beside you during those challenging periods. But those safe spaces, just enhance them, let them get into it. Again, I would never penalize a dog because they're afraid, or I'm going to lock them, as you said, lock them in the kitchen alone. I would never, never, never do that. Just to understand their fear. And what Angela said, is for your sitting, let your sitter know about that. He or she is probably going to go and lay in the bathroom or at the tub. That's normal. That's natural. That's how she handles the fear. Don't lock her out of the bathroom. Don't do those sorts of things. So part of it's just knowing your pet, understanding your pet. And when you expect conditions that you can't control, fireworks in particular, keep them, if you can, keep them safe in advance. Put them in the house, because once they take off, they stop listening. They're running. It's fear, and so prep for that.
Mm-hmm. I remember our very first pet sit was a 4th of July sit, and our dear friend Cheryl Ogle, which I know, Angela, you've heard her you communicated with her, and her cat Koozie. And it was 4th of July. Suddenly we're like, oh, wow. And the cat bolted. Koozie, the queen of Lubbock. She's a beautiful Maine Coon. Oh, my gosh. She went under the bed. And Nancy immediately went, oh, she's under the bed. Nancy got under the bed and extended her arm, because this is the beginning of the cat getting to know you, and just extended her arm and touched her and let her know she was there and lay there with her. And that's a thing. And if it's a dog, I'm going to say 99% of the time, we've done some really bad storms in Arkansas, and it's one farm, and the little dogs, exactly. One went in this closet, one went into the bathroom in the tub. And then I learned, just get it. If they slept in the bed with you, as a lot of dogs do, I would just get on the bed and they go, oh, it's bedtime. And what I've done is basically coddled them and spooned them like a kid, just held them in my arms. I've had dogs that are just, as soon as a storm comes, they just get on top of you. They want to feel your heartbeat. And if you keep your heartbeat low, I know this gets a little woo-woo, but it's true. Like Angela was saying about being calm, and you just keep petting them, and I would sing to them and talk to them, because sometimes you don't want, TVs or anything on, because you may be unplugging it depending on where you are with the way lightning is these days. And so we just keep calm and sing and talk to them and let them know it's all good. It's kind of like a massage, and we do a lot of dog and cat massages. They like them. And I just keep everybody, let's just be calm. It's all good. I'm actually falling asleep now. I actually need to do that for myself. So Angela, but that is that connection, right? If you just be there and know if fireworks are coming, be home. Kris was saying that. Be home. And pet sitters, this is not the time to go home. Go home. This is when anything can go wrong. And that dog or dogs, cats, they are still getting to know you. Show up for them. That's what you're there for.
Yeah, absolutely. And always err on the side of caution. It's better to be that old saying, it's better to be safe than sorry. And with me, and you and I have been doing this a long time. The number of pets that I've looked after, I never want to be that person who has to pick up the phone to tell somebody that their dog or their cat or their pet has gone missing because I wasn't aware. And we know things happen. We know things happen and they're not necessarily anybody's fault sometimes. But I think just take all the precautions you can. Anticipate there's going to be a problem and there isn't. Boy, you can have another glass of wine afterwards and go, wow, that really worked out well. But just be really, really mindful. I mean, I lost my grandcat. She was microchipped. She bolted, and we thought we'd never find her again. And we found her 4 months later, thank you to microchips. She was found in a wood about 10 minutes from where my daughter used to live. My daughter had moved from the south of England up to Scotland, and she'd left her cat, or our cat, my grandcat, with a fellow vet until she got up north and found somewhere and she could have Mitten with her. They kept her in, did all the right things, absolutely the right things. They're veterinarians and they kept them in. They kept her in. They let her out one day. She came back in and she really was happy and everything else. Let her out the next day and they believed that something happened, whether that was a firework, whether it was a car backfired, whether it was anything, we have no idea. But Mitten took off. And as I say, she was missing for 4 months, but she was found by somebody in a wood not far from where Nikki used to live. And that was 5, 6, 7 years ago. And she's in Scotland now because she came back to Scotland and she's happy and everything else. But they do find, and thank you, microchipping, because that's how we found Mitten.
Well, I love that. Speaking of microchipping, that helps getting the animal placement back in home, right? Let's talk about the animals during storms, that when we have serious issues like hurricanes and fires, animals go missing, the shelters get packed. And it's even, it's amazing how animals even are able to get to shelters and how the humane societies and, all these different shelters and nonprofits work with volunteers to actually save these animals. And so I wanted to touch on what Kris and the TurfMutt Foundation, what they do in regards to helping. If these animals can't go directly home, how do you help, Kris, so people know?
We have a partnership in particular with the Kentucky Humane Society. That's where our trade show is located in Louisville. So we partner with them on any number of things. We also, as you know, we are the title sponsor of a show called Lucky Dog. It's on CBS on Saturday mornings, and we do Mission Unstoppable. The Lucky Dog programming is to put rescue animals with homes, and we do that here. Actually, we're filming an episode here in Louisville as we speak. But part of that is we work with professionals. So they're in the business of reuniting folks with lost pets, finding new homes for surrendered pets or strays. So they're just in the business of it. So we partner with the professionals. And so we'll support them in every way we can, financially, organizationally. We provide them with equipment for their farms here. They do equine rescue and rehab, et cetera. So again, we partner with professionals. The Humane Society, no one does it better here. It's a statewide effort here in Kentucky with the Kentucky Humane Society. And so we would encourage your listeners, wherever they are, abroad or in a particular state or city, is work with your local shelters, work with folks like the Humane Society, and support them in their efforts. They're pros. They know how to best unite or reunite and or set up animals with fosters. They have a good foster infrastructure, et cetera.
Do you want to back up there and tell everybody about your expo and where TurfMutt Foundation started?
Sure. The TurfMutt Foundation is the education arm of a trade association in Washington, D.C., the Outdoor Power Equipment Institute. They're the folks that make equipment for the outdoors, to maintain and manage green spaces, create parks and our lawns and landscapes, et cetera. They have a trade show. It's one of the largest in the country. It's the largest of its kind in the world. It's for landscape contractors, designers, builders, hardscape, irrigation, tree care, et cetera. Again, all about creating outdoor spaces, protecting those. We have a very significant partnership in the parks space. On the number one waterfront park in the nation this year, according to USA Today, is Louisville's a waterfront park. I'm on their board of directors. So we support those organizations financially and structurally. The Humane Society, we work with them on September the 6th, for example. We're doing a big effort on the TurfMutt Great Lawn in Louisville, Kentucky, where you attend a movie with your dog in the park on that day. It supports the Humane Society, supports adoption. It's a partnering with the Louisville Downtown Park and the Waterfront Park. We encourage other cities, other places to do things like that, connecting community to the outdoors, parks. Remember, nature starts at your back door, how critical that is to nature. But importantly, that side of your family, our four-legged friends. So that's what we do at the TurfMutt Foundation. We educate kids. We've reached 70 million. That nature does start at your back door. That if you're going to work or create a habitat at home or in a park or in the golf course, et cetera, bear nature in mind, but at the same time, create an environment that best suits your family and, importantly, your dogs, cats, or other animals.
I love that. I want to talk about your backyard in a little bit here, but go over to Angela at Trusted House Sitters, because I know you work with Helen Woodward, which Nancy and I used to work with when we first got back to this country. So it's so wild, isn't it? It's like a full circle thing. Tell us a little bit about what Trusted House Sitters does, because you are a B Corp, right? So doesn't that mean that you're a company that really does good?
Yeah, absolutely. We were granted B Corp status last year. It was a 2-year process, and we were really, really proud of doing that. And Kris, I just want to say, absolutely, I so endorse what you said about working with professionals, because they are the ones that know what they're doing. As Mike Arms, who's the CEO of Helen Woodward, says, you save animals with your head. You love them with your heart and they're always there, but you save them with your head because it's a business. And to make sure that it runs properly, the heart is there, we know always. But in order to get as many animals into their forever homes, those rescues and all of these that they work with across the country, there's got to be the professionals and the way they know how to do it. And so absolutely always look at those. And with Helen Woodward, when we first partnered with them, and we've partnered with organizations in the UK as well, such as Battersea Dogs and Cats Home, RSPCA, Cats Protection, and the Dogs Trust, what we wanted to do what we want to do as an organization who puts pets at the heart of what they do. Of course, we're a for-profit business, but that's the way we can actually reach out and help shelters and rescues, is we wanted to support the work that they do. And one of the reasons that we believe that we have a proposition and a community that can really help is that Trusted House Sitters choose to sit for free. They don't charge. Both sides, sitters and owners, each pay an annual membership fee to join our community, which is a global community of over 260,000 members around the world. They each pay this membership fee. That's an annual fee, and there is no restrictions on how many times you use that. So for pet parents, they have an annual 12 months of absolute unlimited pet care, and for sitters, unlimited pet sitting sort of opportunities. And so when we partnered with Helen Woodward, it was because we wanted to help support the work that they do, not just rehoming pets, but working in the community to keep pets and families together and not have, so high surrenders. And Trusted House Sitters, because we have that sitting option that, sitters can go in, keep these rescue pets in the homes that they've become used to being in. They feel safe, they feel loved, they feel they're never going to go back into that environment. So for those potential adopters or those adopters that understand the way Trusted House Sitters works, because there is no charge, which we know can be very expensive to have an in-home pet carer, because there's no extra charge associated with that care, that could be the catalyst that makes them decide to adopt, because otherwise they would be thinking, okay, this is fine. We're going to open our hearts and our homes to this adorable pet and this pet that needs us. What happens when we have to travel? And it needn't be vacation. It could be absolutely anything. It could be an emergency. It could be work. It could be anything. What do? We can't take them with us, and we don't want to put them back into that boarding environment. So if they know that Trusted House Sitters is there, that is the option that could change their mind about the problems they need to solve, because there is a solution. And we're actually talking, we're talking with other rescue and shelters like Best Friends in the United States, because for us, it's giving back. That's what we want to do.
I love Best Friends out of Utah, right? They were on a show like 15, 16 years ago or something. Yeah, it's been a while, but they do amazing. I think they're the very first no-kill shelter in our country. They are incredible. This is such amazing. I love this show. Thank you both. And before you go, I want to say we're going to go from extreme heat into fall season. And depending where you are in the country, people start changing up their lawns. changing up their lawns, their garden. They start changing up what flowering plants go for fall. Everything starts to change. And I just wanted to get some tips, especially Kris, because I know you're in that world of what happens on a lawn. Though, Kris, I have to say, I see more people putting AstroTurf in. And I don't know what to say about that, but they're doing that. Is that an okay thing? Uh-oh.
I mean, to be candid, is plastic. You're putting down sheets of plastic, typically based, or cushioned with crumb rubber, which is, it's a oil product, petroleum product. No, it doesn't breathe. It's not habitat. It gets hot. It's incredibly hot in the sun that we discussed earlier. So if you have a pet, I'm not a fan. That people say, well, it doesn't need water. Well, typically it does because it's like a petri dish. It doesn't cleanse naturally.
And it's not fun to pick up poo in the heat. Just saying.
Not a fan of plastic yards. The TurfMutt Foundation is in the business of educating about people to put the right plant in the right place. Oftentimes they'll say use plastic grass because you don't have to water it. Well, if you have the right plant in the right place, once established, it won't need supplemental water. Plants will simply go dormant in periods of times of stress or drought. So part of that is knowing where you live, right plant, right place, know your climatic zone. There are dozens and dozens of species of turf grass, flowering plants for pollinators. You can't plant flowering plants in plastic. We're about habitat, nature, support, sequestering carbon, producing oxygen, and that means live, living landscapes. It's also what's best for the animal. So there's a tough answer. We believe in turf grass and natural plantings. Nature starts at your back door, but importantly, you can tailor a natural landscape for the needs of your family. Do you have kids? Do you have dogs? Do you exercise outside? Really took root in COVID, right? Are you an entertainer outside? You cook outside? You exercise outside? I have an outdoor office. You can do that with plants and nature.
And do the right plants according to dogs, no toxic plants. But I do want to say too, I think I love about this is that you look at putting the right things in the right place. And when it comes to flooding, that the East has gone there. I mean, Tennessee just again went through some disastrous and tragic fatal flooding. The more we have cities and take away actual grass and soil, the more flooding we are going to have, because it's like living in Tupperware dishes. That's the best way I can say it. If you don't have drainage, you are going to flood. Isn't that right, Kris? I mean, and if you flood, you're going to flood, but it'll go down through the soil versus asphalt. That means it's going into your store, into your house.
Absolutely. It's all about water runoff, right? And slowing runoff, capturing rainwater. That's how big plants drink, big shrubs, trees in particular. You've got to capture rainwater, hold it on the ground or in the soil. And what's key there is just plants, in particular, if in an urban environment. Remember, most of us live in an urban environment. What's best in those environments to slow or capture as you move off hard surface? And that's turf grass. That's the best way to slow and capture rainwater. It filters it and stores it on soil. Yeah, so the minute you ask California, ask these places that denuded, that ripped out living landscapes because of water issues or fire issues, is that plant a natural plant for the challenge, for the landscape, for a hillside, for a fire zone, etc. Use natural solutions. It'll serve you.
Totally agree. 100%. And working with native plants as well, for sure, which I know you're a pro of doing that, especially pollinator gardens. And doing a pollinator garden is so exciting. And gardening for wildlife is one of the best, most exciting things for your kids to get involved with and start to watch nature, and it's fun. Angela, in closing, anything in regards to the garden that you want to say?
Yeah, just be mindful that there are lots, and you've mentioned this, that there are lots of plants that are poisonous. Just be careful what you plant, and always make sure that there's some shade. And even though it's the garden, make sure that there's water accessible. Yeah, and just enjoy it, and be very careful if you're out there barbecuing. Don't leave scraps and bags and garbage and things around. Just be mindful that dogs and cats as well, and also wildlife, love to get into garbage and smell. Their smelling ability is much bigger than ours. They can smell food from 3 miles away. So just if you've got anything and you've been out there enjoying it, make sure it's clean and tidy, and nothing is going to get you to the emergency room because they ate something they shouldn't.
Mine is check your fences. I don't know how many places I go where people think, oh no, my dogs can't get out. I'm like, I see your dog digging a hole right out now. And there's ways to do fences where dogs can't dig under, and chicken wire helps, by the way, on that. But anyway, watch your fencing and do a check of that. When you're gardening, check that your fencing is up to snuff. And I would say that is crucial so that your pets don't escape or somebody can't come in that you don't want, because that happens as well. And always make sure if they're on leashes in the front or back, or that is still a viable leash, that kind of thing. So I would always check the fencing, because we've seen more instances of everyone thinking their fences are fine and that dogs won't get out. But if there is an incident like a storm or a firework, let me tell you, the dogs know where they can get out. And if they have that escape route, they're taking it. So do your fence.
Absolutely. And I've got one last word on the subject of gardens and outdoor spaces. There is no such thing as the poop fairy. So please, 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 please clear up after your pet and make sure that you do. It's just basic hygiene.
I'll be doing that in a few minutes. Thank you so much, both of you, joining us. Everyone, again, TrustedHousesitters.com, also TurfMutt Foundation.com. Thank you so much, Angela. Thank you, Kris. It's good to have you back on the show, Kris. Thank you.
Real pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Kris.
Thank you all.
Thanks for joining us here on Big Blend Radio's Pet Connection podcast. New episodes air every third Wednesday. Keep up with us at bigblendradio.com and learn more about the world of pet sitting at TrustedHousesitters.com.